Sydney's gaze settled on the billboards in the distance. A few had gone dark as they prepared to rotate onto other news, but she could still see a faint burn in the screen of the boy's profile. She couldn't shake the feeling that sending in a pop star for a mission like this was a huge mistake. Eli Morrison wasn't just a criminal tycoon. Once, he had ordered a hit job on a businessman and left behind nothing but a neat row of limbs for investigators to find. Another time, he'd figured out that one of his crew was a mole solely because of the flowers the man had chosen for a banquet centerpieces. The man and his entire family had vanished that night. Eli had eyes and ears everywhere. He was the kind of job that required infallible precision. He missed nothing. He had no qualms about killing someone with his own hands, and he always got away with it. So the thought of recruiting Winter Young seemed laughable. What had he ever done to qualify himself to face a target like that? Did they even have time to train him? Would he break their cover within 5 minutes of landing in London? Would he be the reason why Morrison ordered them beheaded? Sydney grimaced at the thought, annoyed that her death might come down to a pop star's idiocy. That's a quote from Stars and Smoke by Marie Lu. This is YA Book Chat, and I'm your host, Leah Stuhler.
Hey guys, my name's Abby, and I co-host the Book Life podcast with my best friend Mo. We cover fantasy, sci-fi, and historical fiction books, and talk book-related topics like our favorite character types, world building, and books versus their movies. New episodes drop every Monday on your favorite platform. Now, back to your show.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of YA Book Chat. Thank you, as always, so much for being here and for listening. And a special thank you, as always, to my Patreon members for your regular support. Today, I actually have one of my Patreon members joining me as my guest, and we are going to be talking about the book Stars and Smoke by Marie Lu. And this is such a fun book. It kind of caught me off guard. I hadn't been expecting to cover it on the podcast, but once I read it, I was kind of like, you know what? This is really good. I need to talk about this with somebody. So here we are today. So joining me today is Abigail. Hey, Abigail, how are you?
Hi, Leah. I'm good. How are you?
Good. It's nice to have you on again.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. And Abigail and I are also going to be doing another episode soon. We're going to do an episode together on the Inheritance games, which I
I'm
just
so
recently
excited.
discovered. It's so good.
Such
So
a fun series.
it is. I've only gotten to read book one because everything was on hold. Every single every single book, every single ebook, all the audio book, like all of it. So
Oh my
it's taken
goodness.
me a little while to get it, but yeah, it was really good. So that'll be fun. All right. Well, Abigail, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself before we get started and about your book?
Okay, my name is Abigail Spajari is my last name. I self-published a series that I wrote when I was 16 that's available on Amazon if anybody's interested. And then I'm currently working on another book series that I started over the 2020 lockdown called The Frozen Chronicles. I'm in the process of trying to find an agent, but if I don't find one within the next year or two, I plan on self-publishing again.
Very cool. What is the Frozen Chronicles going to be about?
It's okay. I'm really bad at describing books, especially my books, so bear with me. But it's about a colony, a Russian colony who has kind of established itself on the South Pole. And over the years, that colony has grown into a kingdom. So it's focused on about 100 years after that colony is established. It's focused on the country of Demetria, and the princess of that country is being held prisoner in her own castle by her sister, the queen, who's performing these like weird experiments on her that the princess doesn't know what they're for. The audience doesn't really know what they're for, but it's a very prominent thing. And once you find out why, it's just this kind of, I don't want to say paranormal because I don't think that's the right word to use, but suspense, I guess,
Okay.
mixed in with some fantasy.
Well, it sounds really interesting. That's really
Thank
cool.
you.
I hope you're able to get an agent. I know that
Me too.
it's a rough, hard, difficult process.
I've heard
So,
that. So
yeah.
I'm trying not to be too discouraged. It's been like 6 months, but it's like, okay, it's okay. I think J.K. Rowling said it took her like 3 years, 4 years to
Oh,
find.
yeah.
Like it took her forever. And now Harry Potter's like one of the biggest
right?
things ever.
There's a children's author. His name is Drew DeWalt. He wrote the first book is called The Day the Crayons Quit, and it's just an absolutely brilliant children's book.
Oh,
And I read it. I love it. Like my kids love it. And I remember reading an interview that he gave where he said it took him 6 years to get it published,
wow.
traditionally published. And I was like, that is insane. And he had gotten an agent even. And even with his agent, it took a long time. And I was just like, that's crazy because when you
I
read it,
know.
it's absolutely brilliant. So yeah, it's just crazy how the publishing world works. But
It
I,
is.
I hope that that works out for you. But the
Thank
good thing
you.
is that there is self-publishing available too.
Yeah.
So
And I do have them on Wattpad, so I have like not a big following, but like a relatively, like medium-sized following. So that's been really encouraging to like have people reading it and kind of giving me feedback on it and stuff like that. So
that's good. And Wattpad does some publishing as well.
they do. I know.
So
It's kind of funny. I was actually contacted because I have a Cresswell fan fiction that's got, I think right now it's like just hit 60,000 views or something crazy like that. And
nice.
I had somebody contact me asking if I wanted to like sell that. And I was like, I can't because it's fan fiction. So it's not my characters and stuff, but that was kind of cool. So it was
That
like,
is
oh man.
cool. Oh man, that is really cool.
I
I'll have
know.
to look that up and take a look at it because Cresswell, I mean, that's just my favorite
Cresswell are my
relationship
babies.
ever.
Hmm.
So I did an episode with Bethany, a bonus episode for her
Hmm.
Patreon on
Yep.
that relationship. So yeah, super fun.
I love it.
All right. Well, let's talk about Stars and Smoke by Marie Lu. This,
Hey.
like I said, so I'm a part of the Macmillan Audio like influencers program.
Okay.
So what they do is they email, like book talkers, book reviewers, bookstagrammers and whatnot, and podcasters. And they started emailing and saying, hey, we have all these audiobooks that we want to offer you. So I get like 4 free audiobooks a month,
That's
which is
amazing.
insane. Yeah. And this was one of them. And this particular round, when I got these, she was the only author whose name I recognized.
Oh,
So
funny. I've never heard of her before.
yeah, she's written some other things, but I've not read them, but I had heard of her name. And so I was like, well, let me listen to this one first and see how it is. And I thought, oh, I'll just listen to it just for fun. And then partway through the book, I was like, this is really good. I should actually do an episode on this book because I'm really enjoying it. So, yeah. All right. So, Stars and Smoke. I'm going to just read y'all the recap here so we can have a little overview. And in case this is your first time listening to the podcast, I will do the first like 15-ish minutes spoiler free. And then I will give you a warning before we go into the spoiler section. Because this book it's fairly new. I don't remember exactly when it came out, but I know it's only been like a couple of months. It hasn't been that long.
Oh, it is new.
It came out this year. So I do know that. So I don't want to ruin anything for anybody. All right. Meet Winter Young, rookie backup dancer turned global pop phenomenon. His star power has smashed records, selling out stadiums from LA to London. Now he's bringing his swoon-worthy assets to a whole new arena. Infamous criminal tycoon Eli Morrison has just one weakness: his daughter, Penelope. And Penelope has just one wish for her 19th birthday: a private concert with Winter Young. When the covert ops organization Panacea Group approaches Winter with this once-in-a-lifetime chance to infiltrate Morrison's inner circle, Winter must use his fame, cunning, and charisma to pull it off. Only he won't be on his own. Posing as Winter's bodyguard is the fiery Sydney Cosette, Panacea's youngest spy. Sydney may be the only person alive impervious to Winter's charms. But as the mission brings them closer, she's forced to
Oh,
admit there's more to this A-lister than slick dance moves and a handsome face. Panacea's unlikeliest partners just might become its biggest heroes, and maybe even more if they can survive each other first. So this is a really fun concept because we've got this like huge superstar, like pop star, who is asked by this, spy group who's like essentially like a part of the CIA, and they're like going to take this person and put him into this undercover situation to try and
Hmm.
nag like one of the world's biggest criminals. Like
Hmm.
it's kind of crazy because you're like, you're just gonna pick a random pop star. That would be like the
Taylor
CIA.
Swift.
Yes, exactly. It'd be like the CIA or the FBI going to Taylor Swift and saying, hey, we
Need
have
your
this,
help.
right? Like, what would she do? I actually thought about her a lot as I was reading this book.
Did you?
I did. Yeah, for multiple reasons. So, but what were your thoughts about the book? What did you enjoy or anything you didn't like?
I liked it. The one of the like things that I didn't like about it is I felt that the author like threw in so much like one sentence worth of like background information that was like, can we explore that for a little bit? Like, why are we just glossing over that? Like, especially with Sydney, like she had just so much depth. I felt like there could have been so much more depth to her character than there was. So
Hmm.
I kind of like wanted to like learn more about her. I really like that it was from a guy's perspective because I feel like especially in YA we get a lot of like primarily female
Hmm.
POVs with kind of like interspersed with male POVs. So it was really cool to get like an equal, guy and girl. And I don't know if I'm allowed to say this or not, but I low key have a thing for Asian guys. So reading about the main character who's a hot Asian guy, I was like, oh, I'm on board.
I love that. I think that's super fun. That is great. I
Yeah.
mean, there are definitely many Asian men who are very attractive.
Hmm.
So I can get on board with that as well,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I really liked it as well too. I do agree about Sydney's character. Like it was hard sometimes because there would be like a line dropped about something or like her mom or like when Neil first finds her at school and recruits her, it
Hmm.
was just kind of like a whole crazy situation and I was like, "Wait, what? Tell me more." So
Yeah.
there were definitely parts and we do find out some more of that information as the book goes on later. I think like sometimes it's so strange in YA because sometimes you have books where you get like a really big information dump all at once and
Hmm.
then other times you get this like kind of similar to this where there's like a sentence here or a sentence there but you don't get all the information until way later in the book
Right.
or you don't get a dump you just get like little bits and pieces and have to piece it together yourself so
Hmm.
there's like kind of extremes. I'm not sure
Yeah.
which
Where
one
the
I
balance
really,
is.
yeah. And I'm not sure honestly which one I like better because
Yeah, I don't
sometimes
know.
sometimes the information dump is like information overload.
Yeah, and it's like let leave something to the reader's imagination, you
Yeah.
know?
I need a good balance in the
Yeah,
middle.
exactly.
But I don't know, I felt like with Winter's character, it was more balanced, you
Yeah,
know?
his was pretty balanced. I mean, his was pretty like straightforward.
Yeah.
He's a backup dancer turned pop star. That's it.
Right.
There was
Well,
like a
but
little bit of stuff, like his personal life, with his mom and stuff
yeah.
like that, but
But we get that pretty quickly. And it
yeah.
is more pretty straightforward with him, whereas Sydney's background is more mysterious. And
Hmm.
I'm thinking like maybe Marie Lou did that on purpose because
Yeah.
Sydney is the spy and she's a very closed off person anyway.
Hmm.
So it probably was purposeful the way that she
Yeah.
did that. But I really I loved the characters. Like you said, I also really enjoyed that we had a male POV in this, like primarily. That was
Hmm.
really good. It was very suspenseful. It's great writing. I love the way that she writes.
Hmm.
It was just, it drew me in. And okay, so funny thing about this is because so we have this pop star, Winter Young. And by the way, I just really love these main characters' names. Winter Young and Sydney Cosette. They're like musical. I don't know.
Yeah, they're very poetic.
They
You know.
are.
Yeah.
They're very fun names.
It did keep throwing me off though because I know two Winters. One of them is like an actual person. The other one is Winter from the Lunar Chronicles, and they're both girls. So I kept reading it and like in my head now Winter's a girl's name. So I
Hmm.
kept reading it and it was like, oh wait, he's a guy. He's like I had to keep like reminding myself, okay, this Winter's a guy.
I definitely had to do that at the beginning too because of the Lunar Chronicles. I was like, wait, what? It does take
Yeah.
a minute
Hold up.
when you're so used to a different character a different gender as well with
Mm-hmm.
that same name, it just takes a little bit for your head to wrap
Yeah.
around it. Especially something like the Lunar Chronicles, where like it is so ingrained in us and we love it so much, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which, by the way, if you're listening and you're a fan of the Lunar Chronicles, you should also listen to Prince Kai Fan podcast because it's fantastic. And my podcasting bestie, Bethany, hosts that, and it's really, really good. And she's actually just about to wrap up winter, which is
I know that's
crazy.
crazy.
It's
I know.
crazy. So, anyways, okay. So, yeah. So I was reading this, right? And it got me thinking about like music artists and how they must like, is this, I was wondering, like, is this how some of them are for real?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because Winter is very, and this isn't spoilery, but like, he gets very lonely. Like, he's this huge pop star. And, you know, he's got his backup dancers who he's are like his best friends, his two backup dancers and his manager. But he goes to his room at night, like his humongous hotel room at night after the concert, and he just feels really like lonely and
Mm-hmm.
empty. And it, you know, part of that comes from for his character, part of that comes from the fact that he misses his brother who passed away. But I often wonder though, sometimes like, is that what it's like for people? You know what I mean?
I would imagine.
Like, is that what I actually thought about Taylor Swift a lot?
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, is that what it's like for her after her big concerts, like her the big Eras tour? Like, does she just go back to her hotel room and like, I'm by myself? You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what do these say? Like the ones who are single and not married, you know, or even if they are, but they're on tour by themselves, you
Right.
know, like
Yeah.
Carrie Underwood, when she went on tour in 2019, her family came with her.
Oh, that's so
Well,
sweet.
her husband is a retired NHL hockey player,
Oh,
so
dang.
he can like do whatever he wants.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they've got two little boys. And
Oh.
yeah, like I went to the concert and he was there. I didn't see him, but a friend of mine who was also at the concert, she was in a different spot than I was, like took a selfie and posted. I was like, oh, she met Carrie Underwood's husband and and her sons.
That's cool.
So, you know, like some people, and I've heard like Tim McGraw and Faith Hill would do that sometimes because
Mm-hmm.
they're married and they would tour. But like, so if you're not and you're by yourself, like, how does it feel? Is there really
Yeah.
this like emptiness sometimes that consumes you, even though you have everything essentially,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. This book got me thinking a lot in terms of
Mm-hmm.
that.
Well, it's interesting too, because I had a very brief conversation with someone. It was actually again about Taylor Swift, and I can't like remember the specifics, but we were just it was a super brief conversation, but it was like I was talking about her as like Taylor Swift, the brand, not Taylor
Hmm.
Swift, the person. And she was talking about her as Taylor Swift, the person, not the brand. So it's like as a celebrity, just again using Taylor Swift, you've got Taylor Swift, and it's like you think, oh, Taylor Swift, you don't always think of Taylor Swift, the physical flesh and blood human. You
Hmm.
think Taylor Swift, the artist, the Grammy winner, the Emmy winner, the tour artist, the this, the that. And it's like, okay, but you have to also remember that Taylor Swift, the brand, is also Taylor Swift, the person. So it's
Right.
like, I don't know. It was just when we were talking about it, it was just like those dots connected in my head. And it was like, that's got to be a challenge for artists because as an
Hmm.
artist, I would imagine Taylor Swift would want to market herself and want to gain following and make it, obviously she's this huge mega superstar, but at the same time, she's also a person. So like that's got to be such a hard balance as an artist
Yeah.
to simultaneously keep your humanity and market yourself as a quote unquote product. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah, it's so crazy. And we see that in this book
Mm-hmm.
with Winter and his manager, just the way that, you know, she's
Yeah.
saying all of the things like you have to do this, we have to be here, you have to dress certain way, you know, do this and this and this. And I'm like, it is so crazy. And I've watched a few documentaries on singers. Like there was a one on Lady Gaga that I watched, and then I watched one about Katy Perry, and then there's a Taylor Swift one as well that
Mm-hmm.
I've watched. And it's interesting to watch them, you know, because you do get some of these like intimate moments with
Mm-hmm.
them that you see and like behind the scenes when they're on tour, or like Lady Gaga's was even like when she was at home and in her house, and she talked about when she was dating Taylor, I don't remember his last name.
Lautner?
No,
Oh.
no, an actor on Chicago Fire. I don't remember his
Oh,
last
okay.
name. But anyway, she talked about in one of the episodes, and she's like, "Oh, we're fighting again," and blah blah blah, and she's got a lot of like physical issues too that she was dealing with, and then watching like Katy Perry's,
Mm-hmm.
where she was struggling personally because during this tour that they covered was when her and Russell Brand broke up, and it was a big thing. And so it's like she was backstage getting ready to perform. She was crying, like sobbing,
Oh.
and she had to go on stage in like a minute. And she was sobbing because she had lost a necklace that he had given her, and she didn't know where it was. And then one of her crew member found it and gave it to her. And so she was like, just started sobbing because, her and Russell had just broke up, but she still wanted that because she, was still dealing with it. And she was like, I don't know if I can perform. I don't know if I can go on. And so she does, but it's literally like 2 minutes, like 2 to 5 minutes later, like she's a
Mm-hmm.
sobbing mess. She, they fix her makeup up really quick. She walks out to where she's underneath the stage. She gets on the platform that's going to raise her up. She goes from like crying and depressed to like putting on this fake happy face in like 2 seconds and goes up and
Mm-hmm.
performs. And I'm like, what must that be like?
Yeah.
Like that's insane because you really, it's a lot of acting
Mm-hmm.
also, and Winter definitely goes through that as well.
Yeah, for sure.
This book also had some tropes in it that I really like because, I mean, they're thrown together in a dangerous situation. This, of course, always leads to relationships, right?
Always.
I mean, always. Okay, we kind of have like a forced proximity because she's posing as his bodyguard. So, like, they have to stay together in
Mm-hmm.
England in the same house, and they're in all these situations together. It's almost like, I don't I don't know if you can exactly call it this, but in a way it's almost like a forbidden love because she's the spy. Like she's an agent
Mm-hmm.
posing as his bodyguard, and he's this pop star undercover, and she knows, and like she shouldn't, she knows she shouldn't get involved with him
Right.
because their paths aren't gonna cross. Like they're not gonna be together. It's one of those like, we're only together now, but her life as a spy takes her everywhere, all over the
Mm-hmm.
world, and she's like never in one place. And then
Yeah.
he's got his life where he's always traveling. So it's like almost this kind of like forbidden love. Like we can't, like this will
Right.
never work.
Yeah.
More of a this will never work thing. But then we also have found family, which is really cool because I love the relationship that Sydney has with Neil
I do
and
too.
Sauda.
Mm-hmm.
Also, just a random thing here. So I listened to the audiobook, right? Well, when I got the actual like hard copy of the book to
Mm-hmm.
get it to like do my notes and stuff, and I saw Neil's name for the first time, I was like,
Uh-huh.
oh, that's interesting because they pronounce it Neil in the audiobook, but it's spelled Niall.
Like Niall.
Yeah. So I was
Maybe
like,
it's one of
oh,
those names that you can like pronounce it multiple ways. I don't know.
maybe. I don't
But
know.
yeah, I love the two of their relationship.
Hmm. Especially Neil, because
Yeah.
he's kind of like a dad to
Father,
her.
yeah, father figure.
Hmm.
This is gonna sound really random, but one of my literally all-time favorite movies is Disney Pixar's Cars. I absolutely love that movie. I've
Hmm.
always loved that movie. And one of my favorite things about it is the relationship that builds between Doc and Lightning and how, Doc becomes his mentor. It's a kid's movie, so I don't know that Doc ever becomes like a father figure to him, but it's just that, young person kind of lost in the world being adopted by an older person who's experienced. And I always, that's like probably one of my favorite tropes is found family, you know, mentor, father, parent relationship. It's just like so heartwarming to me, especially because I have two amazing parents and I've always had good relationships with my parents. So I
Yeah.
love seeing like characters get that. Like it just
Yeah.
makes me happy when I see a character who doesn't have that get it.
Hmm. Yeah, I love that too. And it's great because Sydney doesn't have a mother or a father.
Mm-mm.
So she doesn't have either one. So Sauda and Neil have like become that for her, which is
Hmm.
really cool.
Yeah.
And it's funny to watch the relationships throughout the book and also Sauda and Neil's relationship to each other because Neil is obviously softer on Sydney than Sauda is,
Hmm.
but Sauda also does, care for Sydney. So
Right.
but she'll like kind of tease Neil and warn Neil, like, no, we can't do that. Don't baby her. Like, she'll be fine. She has to do this. And so
Yeah.
it's just kind of fun to watch their interactions. And then Sydney also, she's got like a good relationship with them where she like talks to Sauda about her romantic relationships and whatnot. And like, well, when are you and so gonna get
Yeah.
together? You've been talking about this you've been with this person forever. And, and of course, Sauda's like, it's a lifestyle. This. We can't be
Hmm.
with anybody for real. So,
Yeah.
but it is great that they have that connection. I
Hmm.
love that. But actually, what's really cool too is Winter, even though like his dad, he doesn't have a dad, he does have a mom, but his relationship with his mother is strained.
Very strained.
So in a way, like his manager is kind of that for him as
Yeah.
well. So his manager is like found family for him also
Hmm.
because he doesn't have a dad. His brother died, and his mom, he just doesn't have that strong relationship with her. So
Right.
which, his relationship with his mother made me really sad.
So sad.
And I was thinking about it, because I have kids and I was like, okay, if one of my children, heaven forbid, were to die, like, would I do that to the other one? Like, would I become so distraught and then
Hmm.
depressed that I almost like essentially ignore the other child because I can't look at him because he reminds me
Right.
of him? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it was a lot to think about.
Hmm.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this book. I felt like it was just a lot of fun to read through overall, and it kept me guessing. It was very suspenseful, and once it gets to like, it's a little slow at the beginning, but I felt like once it got to a certain point, it picked up better,
Yeah.
and so then it really kept my interest a lot more, and it was fun to kind of try and figure out and guess like what was happening.
Hmm.
And then there was a certain point where I was like, oh, I see what you did there. Okay, that works. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Like just some things that I wasn't sure about.
Hmm.
But then I was like, oh no, that actually works. That's good.
Yeah.
So it was good. I liked the way that it ended. I felt like it had a good conclusion to it at the end. And we kind of end in a good spot with our,
Yeah. Both of our characters.
yeah. So we've got good things happening for both of them. And it's not all like doom and gloom. So
Yeah.
that was good. Well, did you have any other final thoughts before we go into the
I did
spoilers?
not. No.
Okay. All right, good. Let's jump in then because
Okay.
there's lots to talk about. All right. So, if you have not yet read Stars and Smoke by Marie Lu and you do not want anything spoiled for you, then this is where you would stop listening. And once you read the book, come back and then finish the episode. But if you have read it or if you really don't care about hearing spoilers, then please continue listening. All right. So, Sydney and Winter, they really do have a fun relationship.
They do.
I really like how their relationship develops over time. They like Sydney doesn't really like him at all at
Mm-mm.
first. She's really like snarky and sarcastic when she meets him. She thinks he's hot, but
Yeah.
she's like, no, no. And I mean, I have to say, I don't know what you think, but I can't blame her because
No.
she's a trained spy,
Hmm.
right? She's not a full-fledged agent yet, but she's on her way there. And they told her, Sauda and Neil tell her that if this job goes right, she'll
You'll
get
get
promoted.
promoted.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot riding on this for her. And, she's got some pop star who has no clue what he's doing
Hmm.
coming in. So I can't blame her for being all like sarcastic and snarky.
Reserved. Yeah.
Mhm. But what's funny is how Neil and Sydney are like, be nice. Don't
Yeah,
be
be nice to
mean.
him. Don't be a
Mhm.
jerk.
Be nice. But what's crazy too is they both have like secrets that they're hiding from each
Uh-huh.
other, you know,
And they both
like,
know it.
yeah,
Like she knows he's not telling her everything. He knows she's not telling him everything, but it's like, whatever.
yeah, until eventually they start to have feelings for each other and then they want to know the things and then they decide to spill them to each other.
Hmm.
I do have to say, I do feel bad for Winter at first because I feel like Sauda and Neil trick him into doing this.
Yeah, they kind of like don't include everything, or like not that they don't include everything. They almost like downplay it,
Hmm.
kind
Oh,
of.
they totally downplay it. Like he has no idea. Plus, the really bad thing is that they dangle information about his dead brother over his head.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he thinks his brother was in, oh
The
crap, what's it
Peace
called?
Corps?
Thank you. The Peace
Yeah.
Corps. He thinks his brother was in the Peace Corps doing all these things and died on a Peace Corps mission. And then randomly, after one of his concerts, Sauda and Neil pick him up and he thinks it's his regular car, but it's
Hmm.
not. And then are like, we want you to do this mission. And if you do, by the way, we have information about Artie, your brother. And he's like, what are you talking about?
What?
So then, of course, like, how can he's been wanting, like, he misses his brother. He's been wanting to know what happened and how he died. And now they're like, oh, yeah, we have all this information on your brother. By the way, he worked for us, not the Peace Corps.
Hmm.
Bomb drop, right? There's no way he can say no to that.
Right.
So they like rope him in under false pretenses and then don't tell him all the things.
Hmm.
And then he's really overwhelmed. And I feel really bad.
Yeah.
But who wouldn't be?
I know.
I mean, if Taylor Swift were recruited by the CIA, she'd be totally overwhelmed too.
Hmm.
Like, what do you want me to do?
Yeah, that would be stressful.
Right? We're going to send you overseas. We're going to train you. And we're going to send you overseas to do a private concert for somebody. Oh, yeah, by the way, you have to steal information to take her father down.
Yeah. Okay.
Nope. I'd be like, is this a movie? Are you
Yeah.
playing a
Am
trick?
am I
Where's
being
Ashton
pranked?
Kutcher? Am I on pranked right now? Do you know what it is?
A show with Ashton Kutcher?
Yeah, Punked.
Oh, I've heard of it, but I've never seen it.
Okay, so Punked was a show. I don't know if it's on anymore, but it was on for a while. And it might have been on MTV. And Ashton Kutcher would play these like massive, hilarious pranks on other celebrities. It's really funny. You
Oh,
could probably
okay.
you
I
could
was gonna say
probably like,
it was referenced. I just finished the Princess Diaries and it was referenced. That's how I know it. Okay, it was referenced in there.
yeah, you can probably like go on YouTube. I'm sure you can find videos from it. Like he convinced, oh God, I wish I could remember who it was, but there was another actor who he convinced like his house was on fire. It was a whole, like he pulled in the fire department, like this whole thing. They set up this
Oh
whole
my
thing, and this
gosh.
poor guy thought his house was gonna burn to the ground. And then it was a prank.
Bruh.
Uh-huh. Yeah, some of the pranks I was like, Ashton, that is just wrong. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's intense.
they're very intense, but it's a funny show.
It sounds funny.
Yeah. But that's probably what Winters was thinking. Like, am I being pranked right now? What is happening? But so, of course, right? They go through all this stuff. They have to train
Hmm.
together. Okay. The training together, of course, right?
Of course, they have feelings for each other
Yes.
right off
Because
the bat.
they both think the other one is incredibly attractive because they are. And then they have to train together and go on this dangerous mission. They're living together in this house. Okay. Here was my favorite part though, when Sydney was like looking through his stuff, when they were in the house one day, she was looking through his
Mm-hmm.
stuff and she finds the notebook with the song that
Yeah, with
he
the song
wrote.
about her. It's
And
so
he wrote it
cute.
about her. It's the sweetest thing. And she's
Yeah.
like, wait, is that about
What?
me? That can't be about me. But is it about me? I
Yeah,
think it's about me. And of course it was. It's
so
like this,
cute.
it's the sweetest thing because he says,
Mm-hmm.
I look at you and it all fills my head, the swirl of every thought, every nightmare, every dread. Do you ever feel scared like I do? See,
Mm-hmm.
what's really cool is they fall for each other also because even though they're two completely different people in these two completely different worlds, they actually do have a lot in common.
Mm-hmm.
Because he lost his brother and she lost her dad, which
Yeah.
I mean, excuse me, she lost her
Her
mom
mom, yeah.
too, by the way. A I can't think of the word. A
Cancer?
genetic.
Oh.
No, it was the lung disease. It was the same thing that she
Oh,
has.
that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, this genetic lung disease, which
Yeah.
she hasn't even told Neil and Sauda about because she's afraid she'll get fired.
But they both know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we find
I love that at the end. Oh,
my microphone just fell off of its
oh yeah.
base. Awesome.
Yeah, I liked it at the end. It's like, oh, yeah, you think we didn't know, doofus?
Right? And she's like,
We're spies.
right? Of course we know. But what's hilarious is that Winter figures it out the first time he meets her
Mm-hmm.
because she does like the breathing exercise
Uh-huh.
to help herself. And he recognizes it because,
The breathing exercises, yeah.
yeah, because he's had to do them too.
Mm-hmm.
So he calls her out on it right away. Of course, she denies it, but whatever.
Uh-huh.
We all know that you have a lung issue, Sydney.
Don't be lying.
I know. I think one of the sweetest moments, this is going to sound weird, but because of what happened, like when she gets poisoned,
Mm-hmm.
though, like, and he, she's telling, he has to go up to her room, gets like the kit, the med kit with all this stuff in it. And like, I almost said anti-venom. It's not venom.
Anti-poison?
An antidote.
Antidote.
It's not anti-venom. She didn't get bit by a venomous snake. Um, she gives, she's like dying. She's like, oh my God. And like, get out this particular vial that looks like this. And so, which is in and of itself, you're like, okay, how lucid
Very
would she really
specific.
be in this
Yeah.
moment? But it's fine. This is where we use the suspension of disbelief and just let it go.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Did you ever see it? Oh my gosh, it totally reminded me. Did you ever see that really old Batman series with Adam West? Is that a person? Is
Yeah,
that an
that's the
actor?
original one with
Okay,
Adam West.
that one.
Mhm.
There was like a movie. I don't know where, because we never saw the series growing up, but for whatever reason, we watched the movie. And there's this one scene where they're like in the helicopter and Batman falls out and he's like, quick, Robin, throw me the anti-shark spray. And like they have all these like anti-shark, anti-bear, anti-barracuda. And it was like all these random anti things. It's like, why would you just have anti-shark spray tucked in
It's
your helicopter?
it's so funny. I know exactly what you're talking about because I love that movie. And it is
So
just so
funny.
funny. He's dangling from the rope from the
Yeah.
helicopter. Throw me the anti-shark spray. And he, of course, catches it perfectly as
Perfectly.
Robin throws it. And he just sprays the shark that's about to jump up out of the water.
It's so funny. I love those like I don't even know if it's just you can't even say stereotypical because real spies
No.
don't do this, but that like
Like,
what would you call it?
I have,
Stereotype of fictional spies always having everything.
yes, it's like because I'm a spy, I have everything
Yes,
I
you have
need.
everything.
Which actually brings me to another point that I wanted to mention because the Necco wafers.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
her obsession with the Necco wafers.
She has an obsession with Necco wafers. Like she eats them all the time and she always has them. Right. Which I
Mhm.
was like, okay. At first I was like, all right, we all have our candy that we have an obsession with. Right. I got it. Like if I could eat M&Ms, plain M&Ms all the time, I totally
Girl,
would.
same.
Really?
Yes.
See, they're like, I could
They're
just,
so good.
I mean, I could eat an entire and I'm not talking about the little one. I could eat
Not
like
the
a whole
stupid
family
sharing
size.
size. Yes.
No, like a whole humongous thing of them all at once, and it would be
Mhm.
fine. I
Have
mean,
you
it
ever had
wouldn't
the
be fine.
peanut butter M&Ms? Not the
Yes,
peanut, the peanut butter.
yes,
Those are
really
like
good
a whole
also.
new level. Oh, so good.
They are really good. But so I was like, okay, we've all got our thing with candy, right? This is her thing. And
Hmm.
I've had Necco wafers. I do like them. Okay, at first I was thinking it's weird that she chose Necco wafers because my guess is most people are not going to know what those are.
I was gonna say I don't know what that is. I
Yeah,
meant I should have looked it up. I don't know what that is.
because they've been around for a long time. They're one of those candies that if you go to like an old-fashioned general store, they're going to have them, right? So
Uh-huh.
Necco wafers are they come in it's not a, it's like it's a long it almost looks like a long tube. It's like a long cylindrical
Oh, it's almost
wrapper.
like Smarties.
Yeah, but they're bigger. So they're the
Oh,
round wafers. They're very they have like they're like a chalky texture to them.
okay. That is not what I was expecting.
Yeah.
You said Necco
Well,
wafers.
mm-mm. So they're a candy. They're small, round. They're probably like the size of a almost the size of a quarter. They're a good size. And so yeah, they're like a chalky texture and they're different flavors. There's like chocolate, which are the best ones. And then there's a licorice flavor, which is black licorice, which I don't personally like, but you know. So
No.
anyway, there's a bunch of different flavors. They're good. And so I was like, well, this is a really weird choice because nobody's gonna like this is a young adult book. Like nobody this age is gonna know what those things are.
Mm-mm.
But then as I kept reading, I was like, oh, okay. So the
They're
Necco
like
wafers are not
spy
just
candy.
yeah, there's but she uses them to do spy things. Like she writes on the mailbox
Yeah.
when she has to like pick up the package to leave the message for the person that she got it. She uses an echo wafer because they're very like chalky. Like when
Oh.
you like eat them, you almost get like a chalky like residue on your fingers.
Oh,
Which
interesting.
yeah, I know it sounds weird, but they are good.
Are they? Okay.
Yeah. So
I'll
she
have to
uses
try them.
yeah, you should try them. I mean, they're not bad except for the licorice flavor one. But
Yeah, no.
I don't know. But yeah, so they leave like a chalky like residue. So then she uses that, to make her mark on the mailbox to show the delivery
Mm-hmm.
person that she got it. And then later, there's another spot. Where is it? Where she like, oh here, hold on. I'm
Isn't
gonna
there
look.
like a bug? Like a microphone in one of them? Or am I just imagining that?
She okay, here's one. We're like further back. This is like page 243.
Oh,
She
okay.
takes out the roll of Necco wafers, puts a bunch of them in her palm, uses the edge of her phone to crush them into a fine powder because again, they are this like chalky like texture. So you
Mm-hmm.
can do that. So she crushes them into a powder and then she blows it into
Oh,
the
yeah.
air so it's like a cloud of dust because she was using it to see the
The
lasers.
lasers. Yeah.
So
That was smart.
I was like, that's really clever. Kind of like
Yeah.
how in Bad Blood, Taylor Swift uses the makeup compact and blows it out to blind
Oh,
what's
yeah.
her face. Everything goes back to Taylor Swift somehow. It
Mm-hmm.
does. It's fine. At least in my little world. So anyway, I thought that was like a really cool spy tool that she
Mm-hmm.
gave her because like it's not something you would think about and you don't at first because it just seems like she just has an obsession with eating them and then afterwards you're like oh it's not just eating them, she uses them
Mm-hmm.
as a spy tool. That's really kind
Mm-hmm.
of fun. It makes sense.
Yeah.
But so I like that. And then oh I was totally got off base from what I was going to say about when she got poisoned, but it's fine.
Yeah.
So I did like even though it's like weird and she was like dying because she's like she had like a fever too or something, like her body temperature was all off, so she told Winter to put her in the pool. So you know she yeah he puts her in the pool. I have to
Yeah.
find this, wait, page. So like she because her body needed to like cool off or the water was going to help her somehow come down from the poison. It was the whole thing.
Which is kind of interesting because now I could very well be wrong. I'm not a medical expert by any means, but I could have sworn that because that was a big practice in the old days is, oh, if you have a fever, you like cover yourself in ice to bring your fever down, but it's like the fever is a result of your body fighting infection. It's not Like if you have a fever, you don't necessarily want to bring your body temperature down because your body's doing something and the fever is the result of that. So I just thought it was kind of interesting, unless I'm totally mistaken, but I thought it was kind of interesting that she's this like well-versed spy and she's
Mm-hmm.
like trying to do that. I don't know, it just seemed kind of like backwards, not backwards, but just like outdated. Like she was engaging in a practice that is outdated. Unless, again, I'm
Right.
not a medical person, I could very well be mistaken. But from my understanding, it's like,
No, because my son's pediatrician always told us like, don't give them any fever medicine until they get like over
until you get too high,
101.
right? Because
Yeah,
that's when your brain starts to like kill
right.
itself.
But like until that point, your body is fighting something off. Like the fever
Hmm.
is your, yeah, like you said, like it's your way, your body's
Hmm.
way of fighting off whatever it is. So you're correct. You are right.
Yay.
Okay, so I'm looking. I found, so her lungs are like constricting also from the poison. She's having trouble with her lungs, but she's like shivering. And she says but she needs to stay in the water, in the cool water. This chapter is this part when she gets poisoned is like was driving me nuts because it goes back and forth between what's happening where
Or
she's
yeah.
poisoned and then her memories.
Hmm.
And so listening to it on audiobook, I was like, what is
Wait,
happening right
what?
now?
What? Yeah.
so so she feels really hot. That's what it is. Okay. The poison is making her feel really hot. She says, okay, there was no pain, although she found herself in the grip of an intense heat that consumed every part of her body, could feel the heat emanating from her and the bitter cold of everything else around her in comparison. No sweat, though. Maybe she had a fever. And then she feels like her lungs hitching. And so she tells Winter to put her in the pool to cool off. Yeah,
Hmm.
I don't know. She just thinks that she needs
Yeah.
to cool off her body in the pool.
I
Yeah.
mean, it could be just like in the moment, like, oh my gosh, I'm so hot, get me in the pool.
Mm-hmm.
But
Because then she starts,
interesting.
because then she um takes her clothes off too. I mean, she doesn't get naked. Don't, just in case you're
Yeah.
listening to this
It's
point
not that kind
and
of
you've
story.
not read the book, but you're whatever. No, no, no. She just takes off like her outer clothes.
Yeah.
What had Sato told her to do if she couldn't reach her bag of antidotes? She could still smell the lingering fumes of the poison drink on her clothes. Oh, this is why. And the scent made her head swim. So that's
Oh,
why
that's
she
right.
takes her shirt off, because that was the poison that was lingering on there. And then she goes into memory mode. Okay, so I think it was just for her to cool off.
Yeah, must have been.
But he comes back. Like it's always something like this where they realize how much they have feelings for the other person.
Hmm.
It's the this,
Yeah.
like something bad happens to one person and you're like, oh, now this is when I know I really love this person.
Hmm.
Like Bethany and I talked about this on that bonus episode about Cresswell, how like, because she was like, when do you think that Thorne falls in love with Cress or like
When she
realizes that he's in love with Cress?
when she got taken by the kidnappers
Yeah,
was my
that's what I
guess.
said. That's what
Yeah.
I said. Well, at first I was like, well, maybe it's like when they're in the desert and she starts to get sick. But then I was like, he definitely cares about her at that point. But I think the real point is when she gets taken
Yeah.
by the kidnappers because he's
Yeah.
more frantic.
Like frantic.
Yeah. So I was like, I think that's what it is.
Yeah, you
So,
can tell in the desert he's kind of like, okay, you're really sweet, but back off a little.
right. You're
It's
crazy. You
enough.
have all these expectations of
Yeah.
me. Also maybe you're my stalker. So there's that,
I know.
which she totally is, but the poor girl was living in a satellite all by
I
herself
know.
in the middle of outer space. So can you blame her for stalking a hot guy?
Yeah.
No.
At least she only like cyber stalked him. She didn't like send
Right?
people after him.
This is true. But I feel like this is that point for Winter and Sydney
Yeah, they
too.
kind of
More,
figure it out.
yeah, because she's like been poisoned and dying, and he's trying to help her. He gets her stuff. He gives her the antidote, and then which mind you, he does with one hand with one hand because he's holding her up. And then he pops the vial's lid, flips it upside down on a syringe, and loads it with one hand. It's pretty impressive, you know?
Yeah.
But anyways, then she's like, oh, he's been paying attention during our training after all. Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
But he
Yeah.
gives it to her, and then, they stay in the pool and then start to feel better. But then they have this whole like, they just have this like connection moment, like, you
Yeah.
almost died and I really love you. And then that's when she tells him about her lungs.
Mm-hmm. And he's like,
So,
yeah, I know.
yeah, I already knew that. What? She thinks she hides it from everybody,
I
but
know.
everybody knows.
Everybody knows.
But then this is also when they kiss for the first time too, because vulnerable. But again, now this is something else we see in these types of stories, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're in a vulnerable position, they kiss, and then he stops. He's like, no, we can't do this. And she's like, what? You don't want me now? And he's like, no, stupid. You just were poisoned. You almost died. And I had to give you an antidote. You're a bit loopy. We shouldn't
Yeah.
make out right now. Like,
What?
but of course she's like all offended. I'm like,
I know.
Sydney, come on now. But I think she kind of comes to her senses when she gets
Yeah.
out of the meds the next day. So, yeah, that's a bit much. But all right, let's see here. Okay, so we have talked about, as we're talking about their relationship, talked about some of the other plot points and stuff here too, but other things to chat about. So we kind of mentioned earlier, like at the beginning, how like it's crazy that Winter was recruited
Mm-hmm.
to help them take down Eli Morrison. What I think is interesting, Sydney is 19. Her mom died. She doesn't have a dad. And so I thought it was interesting how like Neil recruited her. How
Mm-hmm.
does he even say like why he was at her school that day?
I think it does, but I don't honestly remember.
I don't either.
I
I
do
didn't.
like that bit when she's already like been recruited and she kept like stealing like the silverware and like just like little dumb things, and they catch her and like confront her about it. She's like, "No, I haven't stolen anything. No, I haven't done anything." And then they're like, "Okay, girl, all this stuff was in your room." And it was just, I don't know, it was just again, just that really sweet moment with her and Neil where he's like, "Okay, you can't keep doing this, kid." I think he
Mhm.
calls her kid. I think that was so cute.
Yeah. Well, it's funny when they first meet, when he does go to her school, because he sees her like stealing something from somebody. And then when he approaches her, she tries to do like a Russian accent or something. And he's like, you're
What you
pretty
doing?
close. Well, yeah. But he's like, you just need to check your vowels a little bit when you do this. And she's like, what are you talking about? Like trying to play it off. He's like, I got you,
Hmm.
kid.
Yeah, I know, it's so cute.
So like just from the start, they had that relationship, which was really
Yeah.
fun. But I love her relationship with Neil. It's
Hmm.
my favorite
It
in
is
the
so
book.
sweet.
So we're reading through this story, right? And we go through all these things. They go over there. First of all, Eli Morrison has like a sick, disgusting amount of money. Can we just talk about that for a second? I mean, now granted, he is like a crime lord,
I was gonna say
essentially.
that's to me what makes it like sick and disgusting is how he makes his money. People who are able to make their money, these millionaires and billionaires who make their money legitimately, hey, more power to you, good for you. If you're making money selling people and children, that's disgusting. Like,
And illegal drugs like
and yeah, that kind of stuff is
or
like terrible.
nuclear weapon thingies like the paramecium that could kill thousands of people. Hmm. Yeah, it's pretty sickening. But I mean, he's like disgustingly, like, he's not just giving his daughter a birthday party with Winter Young, the world's most famous pop star, giving a private concert. They have like these like 3 days of like parties and all these other things before the main event too. And I'm
Yeah,
like, okay. What's funny is how Winter has to like cozy up to Penelope, you
I
know?
know that was like so not, I don't know if awkward is the right word, but now, okay, like, Penelope turning out to be the brains, like it makes a little bit more sense, but it's like initially it was took me by surprise because like, okay, if I'm trying to think, I'm not really like a diehard fangirl of anybody, but like my sister loves Tom Hiddleston. absolutely loves him. If
Mm,
she were given like a private, moment with Tom Hiddleston, ain't no way she would be that cool and collected. No
no,
way. Like,
no.
there's just no way. You meet your celebrity. I mean, I met I don't know if she's technically, did you ever see Firefly? The
I've seen
old Joss Whedon.
like one episode.
Okay. That was like one of my favorite series when I was younger. And I got to meet one of the actors from it. It was a very, low budget
So
series,
cool.
low budget actors, but I got to meet one of those actors and it was overwhelming. And it's a small actor. But it was
Yeah.
still just like the adrenaline, the endorphins or whatever. So it's like if you're meeting somebody that's like this big and it's your idol, like you're just gonna be like, oh yeah, come on back to my apartment with me. Let's go have tea.
Right. Like she was a bit too calm about it.
Yeah.
Like, okay, when I met, I'm sure I've told this story before on here, but when I met Shelby Mahoran, author,
Hmm.
like I couldn't talk. I literally, it was horrible. I went to I met her at Y'all Fest a couple years ago. I literally, I wanted to be like, I wanted to make sure I didn't miss her. I got to, because that particular year, um, well, it's always really busy on Saturday, and sometimes you wait in line for a long time. And then if you end up at the back of the line, like you're not always guaranteed to get an autograph or to meet the
Hmm.
author because they have, a set schedule, because they have panels that they do and everything. So I wanted to make sure that I didn't miss it. So I sat there. I sat down for like a good hour and a half to wait before her signing started. I was the first person in line for her signing.
Nice.
I was so excited because she's one of my favorite authors. And I freaked out when I found out she was going to be there. Okay. I get up to the table. I like handed her my book. I said hi, and that was it. Like she literally had to ask me questions for me to talk. Like
Yeah.
she was like, so how are you enjoying the festival? And like I was like, oh, it's great. I love it. And then I'd
That's
stop.
it.
And then she had to, I was like, and in my head, I'm standing there like, oh my gosh, what is the matter with me? Like, I totally just gushed at a whole other author who I'd met for the first time and loved his book. And I was like, just like a gushing mess when I met him and totally talking to all these other ones. But with her, I couldn't do it. And I totally lost
Yeah.
it. And I was like, so fortunately, I just found out yesterday, she's coming to Y'all Fest or Monday. Yeah, she's coming to Y'all Fest again this year. So I get to redeem myself this year and make
Yay.
it better.
Nice.
So I'm not
You
going to
can
do
do
that again.
this. Next,
But
remember
like,
me?
yeah, but yeah, so it doesn't make sense that Penelope was like, it didn't make sense that she was
Mm-mm.
so calm and collected. And
Yeah.
then, and then she's all like, they get to her apartment and she's all like, oh, woe is me because, I never see my dad because he's
Hmm.
gone and my mom died when I was
Yeah.
younger and blah, blah, blah. And she tells him this sob story and she's crying. I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah. What's going on?
No, you don't do that with like a normal person you just
Hmm.
meet, let alone like the world's most famous pop star.
Yeah.
So it was kind of weird.
Yeah. Yeah. That whole scene in her apartment was like very chill. Like she's just making him. I think it was tea they were drinking, or she maybe I don't remember.
Yeah.
It might have been a meal or something, but yeah, and they're just like sitting on the couch, like just chit-chatting.
Like she says when she asks him to go to her apartment, like after I was like, whoa,
What?
what is happening here? Like you just met. Are you going to be like a hoochie mama and like, get all up on him already? Like pulling this girl. And then she's like, no, I've literally like just, I just need some company and just I was like, okay.
With Winter Young?
Now let's
I was gonna say it makes sense at the end.
it does make sense at the end, but also think about this. Now, there are girls or women, adult women, who would totally be like, if given this opportunity, hey, you want to come to my place? Like, would totally take advantage of that
Oh,
for
for
other
sure.
reasons.
Yes.
Of course. But then she doesn't.
Yeah.
Winter and Sydney do kind of think that she's dating Connor, but
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
because Connor and Penelope play it off like that. They make it
Hmm.
seem like they're together, but they're trying to hide their relationship from her father.
Yeah.
So they do a good job of that. But yeah, it all becomes clear later when Penelope confesses that she's actually the bad guy.
Yeah. And then like the whole hairpin thing, him taking the hairpin comes out.
Well, okay. That was
'Cause
another scene where I was like, what is happening? Because she just goes into the kitchen and like he steals the hairpin. Like it's just sitting on her coffee table. She just
yeah,
takes it
that
out of her
was
hair and
very
puts it
out of
down.
character.
But like he takes it because he's like, oh, like, yeah, he has like a Sydney moment. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know, I'm just gonna take it, which was weird. But then what was even weirder is that she says nothing.
Yeah.
The whole time I was reading that part, I was like, now, if it were me, I would notice that thing was gone as the second I came back out of that kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
Like, where's my hairpin? And you're going to
Mm-hmm.
say something about it. Why doesn't she say anything about it?
Yeah.
Like, because we find out afterwards when he gets it back that it has encrypted data on it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a USB thing, a USB port. It's in the hair clip. And so they find out it's got all this encrypted data on it. And then at the end, well, towards the end, like when Penelope's got them captured on the boat, she's like asking for the hair, not asking, threatening them,
Yeah.
not asking nicely, with like to get the hairpin back. And I'm like, why
Why would
didn't
you?
you take it? And when he was there, like, why didn't you ask him?
Yeah, that was, yeah.
Because she could have done it in a way where he wouldn't have figured it out. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like
Yeah.
she could have been like, "Oh, I just where do you know where my hairpin went? I was just going to go put it away in the bathroom."
Yeah.
And or in my bedroom. I mean, that's really legit, right? Like
Yeah.
why? I don't know. That whole thing didn't make sense to
Yeah.
me.
That whole sequence of events was very confusing because we jump from the scene in their apartment to Sydney on the dock with Eli Morrison. And then as soon as like he's killed, then there's like people shooting. That's the whole
Yeah.
sequence was very like back and forth. Like, okay, wait, what's happening? When did the shooters try to shoot? We think it was Penelope, but it turns out that they were shooting at Winter. Like, did they shoot them before? But yeah, that whole sequence was like very choppy. And him getting killed was like, I don't know, it was anticlimactic almost. It was like, wait, what?
I I knew he was going to get shot.
Oh, I did not expect that at all.
Oh, I did because although I shouldn't say I knew like I didn't know early on. I mean like with that scene, like it wasn't till that scene like right I was like something's going to happen.
See,
Like
I thought Sydney was going to jump in and save him. I thought Sydney was going to blow her cover. That's what I was totally
oh,
expecting. I was like, okay,
okay.
this idiot girl is going to save him because they need him alive.
Right.
And that's going to cause a whole, domino effect of stuff. So I was very surprised when they killed him. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. Which I'm actually glad. I'm glad that they did that
Hmm.
instead of her blowing her cover because that's like, come on, that would have made me so irritated.
Yeah. Although it turns out it wouldn't have mattered if she did blow her cover because
Yeah,
Penelope already knew.
yeah.
Okay, which was another thing that confused me. And by the way, and I agree with you on the back and forth on that section. It was confusing too, because then I was like, wait, Eli Morrison just got shot. But now somebody's over here shooting it through Penelope's window. And now this is like I was like, wait, is it the same people? Are we the same
Yeah.
bad guys? Like you're led to believe that it's the people who he's doing the deal with for the
Uh-huh.
paramecium.
Going after Penelope.
Right.
Yeah.
But of course it's not.
Yeah.
So then they're on the ship, right? He gets shot at her party. And
Hmm.
see, I kind of had a feeling when she, like, because the moment before he gets shot, it says that she looks up, like there's a flicker of light or something. She glances up, like behind him, and then he gets shot. And I was like, she looked like she knew.
Oh,
She
I missed
knew.
that.
Yeah. So, and in that spot, I was like, okay, she knew what was going to happen.
Oh
So,
yeah.
so, but I didn't know if it was like she had been in on things with her dad. So I still didn't know, like,
Oh.
yeah, or like with not with her dad, but with the guys who were selling the paramecium or who her
Oh.
dad was dealing with. So I was still like, I didn't click to me that it was her who orchestrated the whole thing in that moment, but I knew that she knew that he was going to get shot.
Hmm.
So
Huh.
that was, but then they're on the boat. Oh, and so we find out, she's behind everything. She orchestrated everything because she wanted her father dead because he beat her mom and killed her mom that way. And so she's like never forgiven him for it. And I mean,
Who would?
who would? Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So,
understandable. I'll give her
right?
that.
It's fine. I agree. But like she says that she knew that they were spies and with the Panacea group. How did she know?
How did she know that? Yeah.
That's what I want to know.
And how did she know that they were going to go after Winter? How did she know that Winter coming to her party was, I don't know, I feel like she kind of knew a little too much.
Right. So here's the question. Does she have somebody who works for
Somebody
her
else.
in the Panacea group?
See, okay, that was another thing now that you said that was another thing that occurred to me. I totally thought Neil and what's the other
Sauda.
Sauda. I totally thought one of the two of them
I
was
did
going to be the
too.
bad guy. And I'm so glad they didn't do that because that's another spy trope that I hate. It's like, oh yeah, it's always like, oh, I'm a double agent. Oh, well, I'm a double agent. Well, I'm a like
Yeah,
it gets confusing who's working for who. So I'm glad they didn't do
me
that.
too. But I feel like in order to make that plausible, in order to make that work, it has to be
She
like there's
has
some
to have
other
somebody in
agent who
there.
is on the inside.
Hmm.
Because otherwise, like she could tell her dad that she wants Winter Young to do a private concert for her.
So what?
And she might know that the Panacea group is investigating her dad and that they might come to this big event. But like, how
How
could she
would that?
possibly know
Yeah.
that they were going to recruit Winter Young?
Hmm.
And that was what would happen
Yeah.
unless somebody was helping her on the inside. Like that's the only way.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was kind of crazy. But
Hmm.
the ending was like after he gets shot and then we get on like it's like a whole humongous series of
Oh
all the
my gosh.
things.
It was so much happening.
There was a lot. Like I couldn't and again, I was listening to the audiobook, so it was hard to keep track in my brain of what was happening because I was like,
Uh-huh.
wait, Eli Morrison just died. Now we're at the party. Winter tells her that her dad is dead, and she's like, okay. And then he gets shot at the party. Sydney goes into the house and she's spying, finds like Connor's secret stash, gets caught by Connor. And then all of a sudden, before you know it, Winter wakes up after passing out from being shot and he's on the boat, tied up and surrounded by paramecium. Oh, and Penelope and her goons, who really she hired, not her dad. And I was like, wow, this is a
Yeah.
lot.
This is a lot to unpack.
It was because then Sydney gets brought in by Connor
Hmm.
and ends up like managing to they leave Sydney and Winter in the room alone with the paramecium. And then how did I don't even remember how she got out of her bindings.
Somebody blew something up. Because
Yeah.
didn't she end up like,
Well, she does.
oh, she did. Oh,
But I was trying to remember how she got out of her bindings in the first place, unless she had like a hidden knife or something. I don't remember.
yeah.
I think
There's
she
just a
had
lot going on.
some kind of hidden spy tool.
Yeah.
So she gets out. They both get free. Then the bad guys are back. And then like because Penelope had a cube of the paramecium out because she was threatening to kill one of them with it.
Uh-huh.
And then
Oh,
Sydney ends
yeah.
up with it, shoots it off of her toe, which by the way was also an impressive feat. Like she's able to flick the paramecium cube with her shoe onto her toe and then fantastically and perfectly flick it into the wall for it to explode all over everybody.
Hmm.
That was quite a feat of spy work.
Yeah. And then just like doing like this makes her impervious to the
Right?
damage.
I'm just gonna cover
Like,
my
okay.
nose and my mouth with my hands. So
Yeah.
but then it's not done because they're on a
Oh my
boat.
gosh, it kept going. I was
Right?
like, when are we gonna, when's the stuff gonna be over? It just kept going.
It did keep like, and it wasn't bad. It was
No,
just
it was
like,
just,
how much more is gonna happen?
yeah.
Because then the two of them are trying to escape and get away from Penelope and her goons and Connor, who does end up dying. And then
Connor was such a weird character. Like he was
he
so
was
mid.
weird.
I don't understand why he was in it, to be honest.
I feel like he was just a plot device.
Yeah.
Like he's just there as a distraction because
Yeah.
Penelope wanted them to think that she was dating Connor. And then Connor was in charge of the money. So we would have had to go to his place in order, like the club or whatever, in order to
Hmm.
find Eli Morrison's books, which is what they were looking for evidence. So
Hmm.
he was really just, and then somebody had to get Sydney onto the ship. So
Oh yeah, that's true. Okay, okay.
he's just a plot device to move
Yeah,
things along. He is weird, but that's all he's
yeah.
there for. So it's okay.
Yeah.
So that, yeah, because then they escape and then they're together and then they like, oh no, now we need to split up. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this
Guys,
isn't gonna work. Like
guys, I
now
know.
you're both like, because Connor punches Sydney in
And
her in
in
her
her, yeah,
at like chest. So now
yeah.
her lungs are collapsing because she's got this lung issue. So
Hmm.
she's like half dying. Winter is still shot and half dead. So they're both trying to like climb up this like stack to get to the top to fire a flare off of. And I was like, y'all are like Superman
I
here,
know, for
half
real.
dying. It was just crazy. And then like they both like he gets the flare fired to signal he's hoping like somebody from Panacea is
Panacea,
around
yeah.
somewhere. Who, by the way, Sauda and Neil had told them both to leave and come home when Eli Morrison
Oh yeah, they
died.
went rogue. I forgot about that.
Yeah. So they're lucky that Sauda, well, I mean, she knew that they would
I
come
was gonna
after
say
her.
she knew that Sydney wouldn't listen. She,
Yeah.
you know, Winter
So,
was a dark horse, but
yeah.
Sydney
She's
wouldn't.
like,
Yeah.
we know Sydney and she'll go rogue.
But oh my gosh, that's that
That last
like
sequence was a
that.
whole
Yeah,
crazy bit. And
I
then
did
it's,
like though that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, you're good.
Oh, I was gonna say that I like that. Like it was a very short dialogue when like Sydney thought she was actually dying, and then Neil's come over, and I think that was when he calls her kid. He's like, "Come on, kid, just like breathe." It was like, "Oh, it's so sweet."
Yeah.
He like
And then that's the
came
last
after
thing.
her.
Her eyes close.
Yeah, it was so sweet.
Panacea group is arresting all the people and then their eyes close. And next thing you know, we're in a hospital. And
And Winter's
then,
gone.
yeah, they're in two separate hospitals for
Hmm.
security reasons. They weren't even at the safe one. But Sydney got out before Winter. And then we have these like heartwarming scenes again, right? Like we've just gone through all this chaos and now it's like we're going to slow things
It
down
went from
to
like a
end the
hundred to zero.
story.
Yeah.
It did, because now we're in the hospital and Winter's uh, manager,
Claire,
yes, Claire, thank you. So Claire and Leo and the other dancer, whose name I can't remember at the moment.
Damien,
Yes,
Damon, Damon or
Damien.
Damien. Yeah.
It's Damien. Come to see him in the hospital to visit. They now know all the things,
Well,
whereas
yeah,
they
because
didn't
Leo was
before.
like
Because
last
Leo,
minute
yeah,
recruited from the bad guys.
right.
Yeah.
So then he has this like heart to heart moment with them, with Claire and Damien, and then they leave. And then he's got this whole thing with Leo because Leo's like, I'm really sorry. They threatened my
You
family.
know,
And, Winter's like, okay,
it's
fine.
fine.
then,
Whatever.
then we have the big moment with his
With his
mom.
mom. That
Because
was
his
so
mom
sweet.
comes. That was really sweet because
I
she,
know, and it's like finally, like, geez, it takes your kid getting blown up for you to like
I know.
pay attention.
But you do get the impression too that, with the death of her son and her husband leaving, that
That's a
she's
lot.
struggled mentally. Like she's clearly not there. Like not I shouldn't say it like that. She's it seems like struggling with depression and like
Yeah,
some other things that are going on because of this and she just hasn't gotten
sure.
over the loss of Artie. So she did struggle a lot. And so but at least though like in this scene she was finally able to admit this to him,
Yeah.
but you get the sense like it's still going to kind of go back to how it was. But she does tell him she'll try a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So there's
We
that.
got that little
Yeah.
resolution.
Yeah. Nobody died. Well, I should say Sydney and Winter don't die. They go back to their own
They go back to
worlds.
their own worlds. But I do like how it ends with like them kind of like coming back together for another mission.
Yeah. Yeah. So we get at the end. Yeah. It's like a year later. They
Yeah.
have another job that they think Winter would do a good job for. Sauda and Neil have this whole discussion about if they should bring him back in or not. And then she shows up at his dance studio as he's practicing and is
That's so
like,
cute.
want to do another job? Yeah, of course I do.
I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
like
that's
the way I
sweet.
kind of had mixed feelings when I first read it about the end, but like the more I think about it, I like it because it was very realistic. But then because we
Yeah.
get that like epilogue, it's like, okay, there's, they kind of had to each go their own way just because of their jobs. But then, they come back together.
Yeah. And we know from the start that they can't really end up together
Right.
because of the nature of both of their jobs.
Mm-hmm.
But they do have a nice, sweet little romance and relationship in the meantime while they are together.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
A
it's
slow,
great.
slow build.
Yes, because they don't like each other very much at first.
No.
But so anyway, but I did like it overall. I did really enjoy it, and just a couple of little things, but
Yeah.
I think it was good. I think it would be fun if there was like even a small novella, like another adventure that they go on or something, or like,
Mm-hmm.
a sneak peek into what it's like a few years down the road or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't know if she'll do any more, but that's fine.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, this was fun. I'm glad we had a
That's
chance to chat
fun.
about this one. And pretty soon we'll get to chat about the inheritance
Woohoo.
games, which is really
Oh my
awesome.
gosh, I'm so excited.
I know. Do you want to tell people where they can buy your book and, where, if you want them to follow you on social media, where they can find you?
Sure. So you can find I'm on Instagram. You can find that down in the description bar. And both my book series that I self-publish is available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. Search for my full name, which again is down in the description because there's apparently another series called Daughter of the Moon that I
Oh,
didn't know about when
no.
I published, which is kind of a bummer. And then I'm also on Wattpad, also Abigail Spajari. All my handles are the same, Abigail Spajari for
All
everything.
right. Awesome. Well, thank you. And like Abigail
You.
said, I will have links to everything in the show notes for today, so you guys can check all of that out. All right. Well, thank you again, Abigail.
Thank
And
you for having me.
of course, thank you everybody for listening, and we will chat again soon. Today's episode featured the book Stars and Smoke by Marie Lu. Be sure to follow YA Book Chat on Instagram and Facebook, and don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcast so you get your episodes as soon as they are available. Have you checked out the YA Book Chat Patreon yet? You should. There are lots of great benefits at each level. YA Book Chat was created by, is hosted, and edited by me, Leah Stuhler.